Start na?
Mm,
Okay na.
Start na.
Mm.
So, gene therapy reduces Parkinson's disease symptoms. So, gene therapy, it has significantly improved the weakness of the symptoms such as tremors, motor skill problems, and rigidity. Done with local anesthesia, use a harmless inactive virus or AAV. Oh, next. So the advantage of gene therapy has the potential to eliminate and prevent hereditary disease such as cystic fibrosis, ADA, SID, and etc. And it is a possible cure for heart disease, AIDS, and cancer. It gives someone born with a genetic disease a chance to live, and it can be used to eradicate disease from the future generations. So the disadvantages are long-lasting therapy is not achieved by gene therapy due to rapid dividing of cells. Benefits of gene therapy is short-lived. Immune response to the transferred gene stimulates a potential risk to gene therapy. Disorders caused by defect in multiple genes cannot be treated effectively using a gene therapy. The viruses used as vectors for gene transfer may cause toxicity, immune responses, and inflammatory reaction in the host. So ethical issues. Who will have access to therapy? It is it interfering with God's plan? Should people be allowed to use gene therapy to enhance basic human traits such as high intelligence, and etc.? Is it alright to use the therapy in the prenatal stage of development in babies? So the conclusion is um, theoretically, gene therapy is the permanent solution for genetic disease, but it has several compli- complicities. At its current stage, it is not accessible to most people due to its huge cost. A breakthrough may come anytime, and a day may come when almost everyday disease will have a gene therapy. Gene therapy have the potential to revolutionize the practice of medicine. So climate change define refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. So climate change could refer to a particular location or the planet as a whole. This shift may be natural, but since it is human activities have been the main driver of climate change. So the Earth atmosphere consists of gases such as oxygen and nitrogen and other gases known as greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. When incoming light from the sun hits the surface, the Earth absorbs some of the energy hitting the surface of the planet. The rest of that energy gets reflected, and some of that energy goes back on into space. So the greenhouses gases like carbon dioxide trap the energy and send it back to the Earth's surface, heating up more this. And of course, we have a different causes of climate change. We have natural causes and human causes. The natural causes is we have a volcanic eruption. So volcanic gases like sulfur dioxide can cause global cooling, while volcanic carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas,
has the potential to promote global warming. Although there are several factors triggering a volcanic eruption, the the magma, the pressure from the exhaust gases in the magma, and the injection of a new batch of magma into an already filled magma chamber. And next, we have the ocean current. So the ocean absorb most of the excess heat greenhouse gas emissions, leading to ocean temperature. Increasing ocean temperature affect marine species and ecosystems. Raising temperatures, coral bleaching, and the loss of grounds for marine fishes and mammals. It can it can be used by wind density difference in water masses caused by temperature and salinity variation, gravity, and events such as earthquakes or storms. Currents are cohesive streams of seawater that circulate through the ocean. And next we have the Earth orbital changes. So orbital changes, the Earth has natural warming and cooling period caused by Milankovitch cycles or variation
La.
in the tilt.
Oh.
Balik ko lang ako sa Earth, no? Earth orbital changes. So Earth orbital changes, the Earth has the natural warming and cooling period caused by the Milankovitch cycles or variation in the tilt and or orbit of the Earth around the Sun. The tilt, the axis of the Earth, is called its obliquity. This angle changes with time and over about 41,000 years it moves from 22 to 24.3 and back again. When the angle increases, the summer become warmer and the winter become colder. So we have the more tilt, warmer summer and colder winters, and less tilt, cooler summer and milder winters. So it's cool summers that are thought to allow snow and ice to last from year to year in high latitudes, eventually building up into massive ice sheets. These are positive feedback in the climate system rather, as well because an Earth, an Earth covered with more snow reflects more of the sun every into space, causing additional cooling. And we have the solar variation. Solar variation is the resulting imbalance between incoming solar radiation and outgoing terminal radiation will likely cause Earth to heat up over the next century, accelerating the melting polar ice caps, causing sea levels to rise and increasing the probability of more violent global weather patterns.
So next is we have the human causes. We have the animal agriculture. It contributes a significant share of a greenhouse gas emissions that are causes climate change. The direct effects are due primarily to increased temperature and frequency and intensity of heat waves, which is it is responsible for a large portion of the greenhouse gas emissions that are causes climate change. Increased temperatures as well as the frequency and the severity of the heat waving have direct consequences. Next is the burning fossil fuel. When fossil fuel are burned, they release nitrogen oxide into the atmosphere, which contribute to the formation of the dioxide and the acid rain. It releases large amount of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the air. gases trap heat in our atmosphere, causing global warming. So, when fuel are burned, nitrogen oxide are released into the atmosphere, resulting in the creation of the dioxide and acid rain. Large volume of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, are released into the atmosphere. Global warming is caused by gases that trap heat in our atmosphere. Next is the deforestation is a key contributor to human-caused climate change. When forests are cleared or burned, they release the carbon they store. Removing trees also diminishes an important carbon that takes up carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It is also a major factor to climate change caused by women. When forests are destroyed or burned, the carbon they store is released. Removing trees also reduces the amount of carbon that is absorbed from the atmosphere. Next is the waste and recyclable population. It has released most of the methane and thereby contributing to greenhouse gas emissions due to the aerobic and anaerobic degradations. Greenhouse gases like methane, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide produced from the landfill, which contribute directly to global warming. So next is ways on preventing climate change. So we have the reduce emissions is produce and send out into the air that is harmful to the environment, especially carbon dioxide, reducing the consumption of energy and increasing its efficient use would help control emissions. Next is the be water wise. Use water from a variety of sources, including domestic, industrial, commercial, and agricultural activities, surface, runoff, or stormwater, and any sewer input or sewer infiltration. Next is the implement the three sustainable case. We have the reduce. Reduce is use use natural resources wisely and using less than usual in order avoid waste. Next is the reuse. You can reuse materials in their original form instead of throwing them away or pass those materials on to the other who could use them too. Example is the Example is recyclable is the paper, glass, magazine, electronics, plastic, and more can be processed into new products while using fewer natural resources and less energy. Next is take action to save forests. Take action to save forests as critical to our ecological system. We should have to pay or take substantial measure to safeguard the forest in order to maintain the equilibrium of our ecological system. When there are fewer trees, there are fewer raindrops, which harms our water cycles. Forest conservation is critical for our future and present well-being. The last one is the trouble green. It initially enforced most relates to the environmentally, socially, and the economically sustainable travel method. So next is the ways to help prevent climate change. So we have the plant trees, help reduce carbon footprints and to provide more food shelter for animals. Most trees have a single self-supporting trunk containing woody components, and the stem produces secondary limbs called branches in most species. Next is the conserve water. In these small ways, you could help save the aquatic environment and so on minimize the water pollution. Is a broad classification that it encompasses everything from simple water conservation at home to elaborate long-term water conservation effort on a bigger scale. Next is the save energy. Use less energy by turning off appliances when not in use and switching to energy saving bulbs. The last one is the reduce waste. Even in this way, you could help prevent climate change for less wastes going to landfill and less use for natural resources. So practices that reduce, avoid, or eliminate the generation of solid waste and the use of the toxic materials to reduce health and the environmental risks, as well as practice that avoid, reduce, or eliminate the generation of wastes or population at the source, rather than simply shifting waste output or waste stream from one environmental medium to another.
So we have eight effect of climate change. So first, the rise in sea level. So global warming is causing global sea level to rise into two ways. So first, the glacier and ice sheet worldwide are melting and adding water to the ocean. Then second, the volume of the ocean expanding as the water warms. So second one is heavy rainfall across the globe. So current climate change models indicate the rising temperature will intensify the Earth water cycle, increasing the evaporation. Increasing the evaporation will result in more frequent and intense storm, but will also contribute to drying over some land areas. So the third one, the extreme drought. So it just the climate change has the worst mini extreme weather event. It has also impacted drought. The excess heat drop in the climate change draw out more moisture from soil. So ang mauni ang pinaka-worst na drought condition effect of the climate change. So the fourth one, decline in the crop productivity. So it is just negative impact of global warming, including reduced crop quantity and quality due to the reduce of growth period, high level of temperature rise. So the fifth one, ecosystem are changing. So the climate change can alter where species live, how they interact, timing of the biological event, which is called fundamental transfer current ecosystem unfold well. So climate change can overwhelm the capacity of ecosystem to mitigate extreme event and disturbance, such as wildfire, floods, and drought. So the sixth one, um, the hurricanes. So hurricanes is a type of tropical cyclone, which is the general term for how pressure system with activity like thunder and lightning that develop into tropics or subtropics. So seven, rise in temperature. So warmer temperature can also lead to a chain reactions of other changes around the world. So that's because increasing air temperature also affect the oceans. So whether the pattern, snow, ice, and plant and animals. Then, okay, the last one, the carbon dioxide acid, acid phase sweeter. So,
Acidifies.
as we face
Acidifies.
seawater, acidifies seawater. Okay, carbon dioxide and carbonate, which plankton use to make shells, combine in the ocean. So it is because of the human driving increased levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They are most carbon dioxide dissolving into the ocean. So the ocean's average pH is now around 8.1, which is the basic of alkaline, but as the oceans continues to absorb more carbon dioxide, the pH increase and the oceans become more acidic. So that's all. Okay, thank you for watching.